Welcome to BiogasWorld's webinar on the biogas and RNG market in Canada, featured as part of this week's Biogas and RNG Online virtual event. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with participants following the webinar. In addition, if you have any questions for our presenters, we invite you to write them in the Q&A tab, and we will ask our panelists during the Q&A period. I would like to thank our presenters for joining us today. Sasha Rollings-Scattergood, Chief Technology Officer at Anaergia; Matthew Growden, Corporate Development Manager at Convertus; Jennifer Green, Executive Director of the Canadian Biogas Association; and Raphael Deley, Managing Director, North America at Prodeval. This event is featured as part of our Biogas and RNG Online event, taking place on our Biogas Community website over the course of this week. This event brings together all corners of the biogas and RNG industry together in a virtual format, accessible across boundaries. Join us asynchronously throughout the week as we delve into various industry subsectors and for our upcoming national webinars tomorrow on the EU and US biogas markets. Before we begin our discussion, each of our panelists will have a few minutes to present their organizations and their work in the industry. Our first introduction is by Sasha Scattergood. Sasha is Chief Technology Officer of Anaergia, a global clean energy company that designs and delivers turnkey biogas and renewable natural gas facilities around the world. With nearly 15 years in the biogas sector, beginning in research and development and evolving into global technology leadership, he works closely with developers, utilities, and industrial partners to bring reliable biogas infrastructure into operation across North America, Europe, and other international markets. Sasha.
Perfect. Let me just throw up a screen then. So I think I'll be preaching to the choir when I go through the deleterious effects of methane emissions, but I think it's worthwhile mentioning why Anaergia got into the space of biogas and why we think it's important. So of the 1.1 degrees Celsius rise in global temperature caused by humans, roughly half a degree is caused by methane emissions. And this boils down to the fact that methane is so much more powerful as a greenhouse gas contributor than is CO2. And where does this methane come from? Primarily from source-separated organics sent to landfill, municipal organics, or agricultural byproducts, including the manures, and as well biosolids from sewage sludge. And these are exactly the spaces that Anaergia is focused on recovering organics from and converting them into renewable fuel, clean water, and organic fertilizer. So Anaergia is a vertically integrated company with the heart being around the anaerobic digester. You can see in this schematic sort of the value chain and how we have agricultural products, including their second harvest products and residues flowing into the anaerobic digester. You have food waste, source separated organics, animal manure, etc., also going to those same anaerobic digestion technologies, and then digestates flowing out back to the land, and as well biomethane and or electricity flowing out to the grid. Anaergia contributes within all of these processes, and we deliver turnkey solutions that enable it. We're global. While I sit here in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, where our headquarters are, we also have offices across Europe, Africa, Asia, and we have projects all across the world, 5 continents. We manufacture our technologies in Europe, including Germany and Italy, and as well right here in Canada. From a track record perspective, we have over 30 years of experience in the biogas industry. We have 1,500 plus projects in install base and operation, and really brings with it unparalleled experience. We've been able to hone our skills. We've learned many lessons along the way, and we've delivered those projects across 5 different continents, some of which we still own and operate, and others we provide operations and maintenance contract to customers. We do in-house manufacturing, as mentioned. Some of the reason for that is vertical integration, so that we can really own and control that technology. And like I said, we do own several internal technologies, of which are patented. You can see here that we solve problems right across the entire anaerobic digestion value chain, the anaerobic digestion itself, pre-treatment with organic extraction, biogas upgrading and conditioning, and as well even the CO2 systems where we can take the byproducts and convert them into value add products. And maybe just lastly, our delivery models, we do deliver in capital sales, so we can work with developers and municipalities to deliver systems. We do service and operations, and occasionally, if the fit is right, we will do build, own, operate plants where we actually own the asset, convert the biogas into renewable natural gas, and sell it directly into the grid. Looking forward to talking more about Canadian RNG and pass it back to you.
Great, thank you. Our next panelist is Matthew Growden. Matt works at Convertus Group, a full-service organic waste solutions provider based in Canada. He is part of the finance team, focusing on executing acquisitions and supporting new project development. Matt.
Thank you for the introduction. My screen should be up.
Yes.
Excellent. So hi, everyone. I work for the Convertus Group. So we're a full-service organics waste solutions provider. We offer design, build, and operation services, mainly across Canada and now into the US. Within our group, we have a in-house engineering firm, Waste Treatment Technologies, and they've been providing organic waste processing solutions for over 30 years. Within the group, we have three main pillars, so organic soils and solutions. Usually, all of our sort of products and offerings that we're able to provide fit within these three pillars. So as the Convertus Group, we really offer a full service suite of products, including design and build, operations, and service. Under these different business segments, we're able to work with a variety of customers, mainly municipalities, to offer a really tailored and customized solution for building these facilities in North America. And then, of course, as an organics waste processing company, we have a lot of sustainability goals going forward. Just to highlight some of the key pillars that we have. First is being 100% closed loop. So our teams are continuously looking at ways to reduce any of our sort of residual waste going to landfill. Also, of course, as the sort of market develops, we're expanding more into biogas producing facilities, which will create a more net energy producer environment for Convertus. We're also really focused on our impact in using of water. So we are continuously looking at ways to reduce water disposal and incorporate more leachate usage in our operations. And then finally, of course, we're very focused on the environmental impact of our operations. So you can see the Convertus Group out under several different pillars. Over the years, Convertus has grown through a mix of acquisitions and new facility development. So we have sites across Canada and the US, in addition to our in-house engineering in the Netherlands. Just to show a bit of a map of where we operate. So we have facilities mainly across Canada, with a few sort of flagship facilities as well that I'll get into next. Most importantly, we're developing a very large biofuel facility just north of Toronto. In addition, we serve many of the largest municipalities in Canada. Again, just to highlight our York biofuel facility. So we're mid-construction right now on a up to 200,000 ton per year wet anaerobic digester. The really key aspect of the facility is that it'll be processing all of the York region's green bin waste And of course, all of that waste will be processed in region, which will significantly reduce the amount of transportation required for processing. Right now, that waste is currently processed at facilities across Ontario, which of course is fairly energy intensive. And then finally, just to quickly close off, Convertus is very active at several of the trade shows and industry events across Canada and the US, as well as a few in Europe. So please feel free to come up and introduce yourselves as we progress throughout the trade shows this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Our next panelist is Jennifer Green. Jennifer is the Executive Director of the Canadian Biogas Association, advancing opportunities for biogas and renewable natural gas across Canada. She brings together industry and government leaders to build strategic partnerships and support policies that enable sector growth. An engineer and experienced educator, Jennifer combines technical expertise with a strong understanding of the Canadian biogas and RNG landscape, and is passionate about advancing practical solutions that accelerate project development nationwide. Jennifer.
Hello, and a big thank you to BiogasWorld for hosting this really exciting panel on where the Canadian market is. Welcome, everyone, and my name is Jennifer. I am the Executive Director of the Canadian Biogas Association, and the CBA, or the Canadian Biogas Association, has representation of all of the panelists as members on this webinar today. And really expand that across the sector in terms of looking at producers and users of renewable fuels and renewable products. We are an industry national association of 185 member companies. And within our diverse membership, we see that there is a real excitement and opportunity for building biogas and renewable natural gas across Canada. We've actually been operating as an organization since 2008. And have really seen a lot of the development over the last period that has expanded the growth of the sector across the country. So as I mentioned, as an active national association within Canada, we are very core and active in a number of areas as an organization. One big piece is related to education and outreach. Raising the awareness for the industry is critical, and doing that both within the industry, but also with other partners, including government, in our advocacy to ensure we have proper policies and regulations to help advance the growth of the industry. The industry currently in Canada has almost 300 active and operating projects across the country in every province of Canada. As was highlighted previously, the areas that we are looking at critically are kind of in those same four subsets of looking at agricultural projects, landfill, methane extraction, municipal projects, including both in wastewater and in industrial treatment, and then mostly private sector, but industrial facilities that are looking at dedicated feedstocks. So the breakdown of those projects are here. This data we're actually updating right now with some updated data sharing. And so we're gathering additional metrics for 2025, and we're actually seeing a lot more projects actually anticipated in this number. In terms of what that project kind of looks like from different metrics, we know that we have, of those 300 projects, producing around 22 petajoules of energy in kind of the 2022-2023 timeframe. We know that there are projects that are in progress, including the one that Convertus is doing, that will add to that tally. And we also see that there are a number of projects either in some form of feasibility or initial development that could potentially fourfold the production of biogas within the country. Now, when we look at the 2 million cubic meters of material per year that's being processed in these anaerobic digestion facilities, we're seeing approximately 8 megatons of GHG reductions happening from the existing facilities across the country. Now, we know that based on that methane content and the opportunities for expansion, that can be anaerobic digestion, biogas, and renewable natural gas can be significant contributors to reducing the GHG reductions by 2030 in Canada. And some of the elements that I'll speak to a little bit in the Q&A session or during the panel speak to really what are those drivers and why are the Canadian projects actually moving from those initial questions and back of the napkin design to actually being constructed and operating and providing all of these prolific benefits across the country. So I'll speak to some of those real drivers, but really what it comes down to is that we're seeing some very patchwork-like opportunities across the country. Again, region by region, we see some specific programs or policy that is helping to unlock that potential. But when it comes down to where we're currently at, we're only tapping about 14% of the potential biogas resources that we could harness. And so Canada has a lot brighter future in terms of being able to develop more projects going forward. And I'll pause there and pass it along to the next presenter. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Our final panelist today is Raphael Deley. Raphael is Managing Director for Prodeval North America. Raphael.
I think you can see my screen, so indeed a big thank you to BiogasWorld. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel. So at Prodeval, we are a technology provider, and we are passionate about what we do. We design, manufacture, and service biogas upgrading equipment and CO2 liquefaction unit. We started first in Europe 30 years ago, and gradually, I would say, expanded with today about 7 subsidiaries all around the world. And with over 740 plants already operating worldwide, we are the world leader specialized in biogas upgrading service. So we use both membranes. This is a core product of Prodeval, and we have been integrating as well PSA technology lately. And we are making some excellent I would say, growth in the CO2 liquefaction market in the US and in Europe. So we feel that we are an actor of the energy transition. I'm mostly in charge of North America, which encompasses both Canada and the US. We have 2 subsidiaries, one in Montreal, one near Chicago. We delivered already 20 projects and working on 6 new projects to be delivered in 2026. And we are a team of 10 at the disposal of our clients. Our core expertise is on the upgrading of biogas. So you get biogas outside of the digester, and we dry it, we blow it, we remove the H2S, the VOCs, and then we separate the molecules inside the membranes using a compressor. And at the outset of the system, there is the tail gas, and the tail gas is full of clean, I would say almost clean CO2 that we clean even more, we liquefy and turn that into either industrial or food grade. Around this core product, I would say we have complementary solution with booster RNG if you need to increase the pressure. If we have deoxidizer to decrease the content of the oxygen, and H2S bulk removal in case your project has more than 2,000 ppm of H2S. We like to say that we secure the business plan of our clients. The selling of the equipment is one thing, but supporting the developer and the operator on a daily basis and throughout the lifespan of the project is critical for us. So we have the highest level of guarantee currently with a runtime guarantee over 97%, highest RNG recovery at 99.5%. We guarantee the electrical consumption of the units, and we guarantee the performance. We'll meet the biomethane specs, whatever the gas flow, the gas quality, and the temperature. We started in France first dealing directly with farmers. So a bit kind of what we have been seeing, especially in Quebec lately. So we designed the equipment with those operators in mind, designing roomy containerized solution for whole weather with a heater as well, sometime for the long winter in Canada inside the containers. We have the Valopack technology with lower flange. You can see that it's a pack full of activated carbon, and so the lower flange allows the operator to stay happy while emptying the packs. And we have a built-in redundancy system that is inbuilt with dual chillers. Basically, we are making our best to ensure that the runtime will be as high as possible. And we prize ourselves for the built-in flexibility of the system. It's mostly dedicated to membranes, but we, as I said, handle the biogas, whatever the flow, the temperature, and the pressure. We have a dynamic flow management. If the digester is not generating as much biogas, then you don't need the unit to run at 100%. And same thing, if there is not enough room in the pipeline and you can't inject 100% of your biomethane, the system auto-regulate by himself, hence lowering the energy consumption of the system. With the 750 plants currently running, we are gathering a lot of data, and we are in a data era, I would say, thanks to the instrumentation. We have about $100,000 worth of instrumentation in our system for analyzers, transmitters, biogas composition, flow, temperature, pressure, and so on. And we gather all these data that allow us to do the remote control. So there is something happening, we plug into your system and we troubleshoot the system remotely. And we are working on the artificial intelligence system with large language model in order to digitalize your unit on site and making sure that it performs as well as its twin, I would say. And since time is of the essence, we cut the ribbon of a brand new manufacturing facility early 2025. It's, as of today, the world's case standardized production solution that allow us to manufacture 450 units and to ship it worldwide. There is some countries where we prefer usually to manufacture on site. The US is one, for example, due to tariffs, and Canada as well, considering the growth. We are focusing on providing as well a local solution in terms of manufacturing. But so far, the idea for Prodeval is really to stay and remain innovative in this field and to support projects all around the world. And what is important for us in our DNA is really to support our clients, the operators. And so we offer a hotline 24/7 you can call. The developers are usually calling a lot on the first 3 months in order to get used to how the unit is working. And then we support with what we call the preventative maintenance every 2,000 hours, like a car, basically. And we have spare parts stored in both Chicago and these next month in Quebec. And we offer curative maintenance with a restart guarantee of 97% case in such a. And what is important is the training. So we have a specific company dedicated to training. When we are talking about training, we are talking about on-site training during installation, service, commissioning, but as well e-learning with modules fully available, and virtual learning with, you see those helmets that allow you now to visit the units from inside down, I would say, and be relevant when you have issues. Thank you. And looking forward to discuss the questions with the panel.
Great, thanks, Raphael. So our first discussion question we have for our panel today is, how would you describe your core experience operating in the Canadian market? Sasha, would you like to start us off?
Sure, that'd be great. So yeah, the Canadian market is important for us for sure. Anaergia is a Canadian company, and we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of success here, and particularly in the co-digestion space. There's actually a significant amount of digester capacity sitting at municipal wastewater treatment plants across the country, and co-digestion allows those plants to take in external food waste, liquefied organics, and blend it with sewage sludge and increase production using that infrastructure that already exists. And really the beauty of this model is that the wastewater treatment plant can move from being an energy consumer to a net energy producer. And they can either generate that in the form of renewable electricity or upgrading it to renewable natural gas. We've been proud to work on these projects some of the first in Canada, including one with the Petawawa Net Zero project. And this really demonstrates how municipalities can step in, and as well as their operations teams, and take a leadership role in the biogas production and biogas investment. And then beyond the municipal work, we've also supported several industrial and source separated organics projects. On the SSO side, we've primarily focused on pretreatment systems. So that's the packaging, removal, degridding operations, and basically everything that it takes to make a really clean digestate. So yes, great experience so far in Canada. Certainly looking forward to seeing the market grow. I mean, if we look over to Europe, there's just so much more potential for the Canadian biogas sector, and we can grow into those shoes for sure.
Interesting. Thank you. Matt, would you like to follow up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Convertus's core sort of in legacy operations have mainly been with in-vessel composting. And of course, as the markets developed more and more, and as our municipal customers have adapted over the years, they're also sort of pushing for more biogas and RNG driven solutions. So if we look at our most recent facilities, Convertus has added into our portfolio. First is our Surrey biofuel facility that's dry anaerobic digestion. We have a facility in Calgary, Alberta that's adding plug flow digestion, our New York biofuel facility that I mentioned earlier, and then also an in-vessel composting and dry AD facility in Quebec. So there's definitely a lot of development that's in the pipeline and currently under construction for Convertus. That's moving a lot of our intake volumes from a traditional sort of in-vessel composting structure to something where we're able to, of course, harvest and inject the biogas. And an important part of that with the market too is, of course, that brings in a new source of revenue stream for us, which allows us to sort of offer more competitive prices to our customers for the intake.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I guess I would clarify that as an association, we don't actually operate the facilities, but it's the member companies that are doing the heavy lifting and the hard work to design, construct, build, and operate these facilities in the Canadian market. And I would really tip my hat to them as being as Canada having a very well-developed and highly skilled industry when it comes to the expertise, the equipment, and the sophistication to be able to navigate these projects through the various project development cycles. So that is really a testament to the membership and the experience that they have on the ground. I think that there's also a lot of interest in the Canadian market for many, many reasons. I've highlighted just the resources that we have yet to tap as a market. And we actually field a lot of inquiries from global companies who have had the expertise, whether they're bringing that expertise from Europe or from elsewhere, that are being able to look to Canada as an opportunity to apply their knowledge and their experience. I think a lot of the projects that have been able to be successful have really been supported by programs and policies that have enabled project development in Canada. And this, as I said, is very regional. But I do think that the opportunities to be able to move the bar on some of those incentives and support mechanisms is huge. We have a lot of work to do to be able to help streamline that. But ultimately, where there are programs and where there are policies that are supportive, that has been an instrumental kind of underpinning of a number of these projects.
Great. Thank you. Raphael?
Interesting. So your question was about what was the core experience operating the Canadian market, right, for Prodeval. I mean, we started our entrepreneurial journey in Europe, and Canada became our first North American home 6 years ago. You know, like all European company, you begin right in Quebec, where the French language welcomes us usually as warmly as the market appetite for decarbonization. And since then, I would say we have delivered equipment across multiple provinces, thanks to partner, sometimes as well directly. And we have seen a massive potential for RNG. If you take a look at the data, and I'm referring as well as the data that you built, Ryan, thanks to your excellent market study, as of early 2026, there is, I think, 42 operational RNG upgrading facility. And it was staggering 70 plus more in development or in construction. So for me, it's a sign of a rapidly maturing sector. If you take, and we'll probably take a look at each province separately, but for Prodeval, overall, it means a highly technical market, hungry usually for reliable upgrading solution, especially as many CHP contracts will expire and with facilities exploring, I would say, transitioning from CHP to RNG for more stable long-term offtake revenues. There is a policy-driven environment, which unfortunately is obviously separated provinces by provinces, but there is on most of these provinces are RNG mandates. The Quebec one is probably the most well-known for gas distribution to blend, I think 5% by 2025 and 10 for until 2030. And there is the Fortis target, I think at 15% renewable content by 2030. So that's really kind of directly stimulate project demand. And I think the third thing that is so important for Prodeval is the booming credit environment under the Canadian Clean Fuel Regulation, where we have seen the RNG registration jumped, I think, by 400% between 2023 and 2024. So really kind of thanks to a favorable carbon intensity credit. So at Prodeval, I would say our experience aligns perfectly. We see market enthusiasm, highly technical standard, different again between Anaergia, ATCO, Fortis BC, or and we are well positioned, I would say, to grow with the market. So pretty ecstatic about the market today and how it will grow over the next years.
Great, thank you. So our next question is, are there any provincial markets you believe will experience an uptake in interest over 2026 and why that might be? Sasha, do you want to take us away on that question?
Yeah, sure. And I think it was well touched on by Raphael. I mean, Quebec is definitely a very interesting market right now. It's relatively new for Anaergia, but we have it does have one of the stronger utility frameworks in Canada, with Anaergia actively procuring renewable natural gas and creating long-term demand signals. That kind of structure really gives developers confidence, and then Anaergia can step in and help those developers build those facilities that they're dreaming of. I think we've seen quite a bit from British Columbia as well, which it continues to grow. Strong signals from the municipal clients, and there's utility there like Fortis BC, which has clear renewable gas targets like Raphael mentioned, and that demand pull really is important. I mean, the market has to be hungry for it. And then Jennifer showed in one slide that Ontario is already the largest operational market, but we're still very bullish on Ontario. There's significant amounts of agricultural feedstock that still haven't found good homes and anaerobic digesters. Municipal sewage sludge and lots of landfill diverted food waste also needs to find its way into beneficial reuse and turn into a molecule of renewable natural gas. So for sure, those are the top three. And then the CFR, like Raphael also mentioned, it's a great framework and it's helping support already. And so all provinces will benefit from that. And even outside of Canada, there's mechanisms to make that CFR program work well to produce more renewable natural gas. So a lot of great signals in the right direction.
Great, thank you. Matt, do you want to jump?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Convertus mainly processes organic waste, we have a little bit more of a sort of narrow thinking on the subject, as we can't sort of speak to other feedstocks. But in general, of course, we need a fairly large amount of sort of volume available to us to support building a new facility. But one area that's been quite interesting for us, one province, is actually Quebec. So we have a new facility development that's starting construction right now, and there is pretty good regulatory sort of framework in the province for us to be able to build a smaller facility. So, for example, our York biofuel facility is 200,000 tons per year of intake, and typically we look to have at least 100,000 tons per year of intake to sort of get enough economies of scale for new construction. However, our facility that we're building right now in Quebec is only about 35,000 tons per year. And we expect that sort of this construction project, which we're doing with a local partner, Ainsworth, will sort of bring a lot more opportunities for us in the next few years as well.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Yeah, I won't repeat what some of the other panelists had mentioned in terms of where there's provincial drivers. Without a doubt, BC, Quebec have been leading, but I would highlight that Ontario saw it start within the combined heat and power space. Those projects will see a transition coming over the next 5 to 10 years. And there is a real high intensity for Ontario to continue procurements for renewable electricity through their large long-term procurement programs and what they're calling their local generation programs. So Ontario has both an electricity and an RNG play, I would say. The Alberta market is quite an interesting one because we've recently seen a project provided funding under the Emissions Reduction Act, the first ever biogas and CCUS project, looking at feedstocks primarily in cattle feedlots. And so when you look at the vast opportunity to tap into the Alberta market, there is something to definitely scratch there. In terms of other leads to consider following, albeit not as advanced, I would say in the prairie provinces, Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Manitoba specifically has identified biogas and RNG as a strategic opportunity in their roadmap to net zero. And in the Atlantic provinces, in particular within New Brunswick, we have seen a number of initial studies that have been able to seed project interest, and that is currently now looking to see where that will kind of potentially launch into new projects. So while I would offer that there are some real keen kind of known drivers across the country provincially, I wouldn't take your eye off some of the other provinces who are now learning about these opportunities and how to harness the feedstocks to be able to convert them into these beneficial products.
Very interesting. Thank you. Raphael?
Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing Manitoba in RNG, so it's good. It's good to hear, Jennifer. I like it. I like it very much. The fact that we are extending up north in our communities over there. But well, it's hard to add on the very knowledgeable people that are on this table. So just probably as a summary, I think we'll definitely see a growth in all major provinces in 2026. Quebec is a rock star for us. Not only at the Canada, but for Prodeval, like especially considering the million of CAD invested since 2017 on the PSP GNR, and that is kind of further developing by 2030, and they are planning, I think, on investing on have an overall investment of about 1 billion. The fact that as well, like Quebec is really comparable to what we have seen in France in term, not only in terms of growth, but in terms of size of farms and project. Like when you consider that Quebec hosts about 40% of the Canadian dairy cows, but in small farm compared to what you are seeing in Alberta or Ontario, that's a good sign, especially for building anaerobic digester hubs. And there is new regulatory wins with the digestate regulation enabling broader fertilizer. You see that as well in Alberta. which I consider being kind of the next frontier. Today, there is only 4 operational RNG plants today, but Jennifer mentioned it. There is a new interest. There is a bill as well, the Bill 54, that has been passed with digester fertilizer. So overall, I really feel like in Alberta, there is an evolving clean energy framework that suggests that the province is gearing up for meaningful growth, though probably the gas utility over there need to send signal, so the gas won't go into British Columbia. Ontario and British Columbia, well, British Columbia, I would say strong growth, mostly driven by the policy and the important target set up by Fortis. And Fortis has a long-standing RNG procurement program that ensure, I would say, an off-take market. And an off-take market these days, it's like a warm hug, for project developer. They are all craving for a good off-take project. So it's all good signs. And for sure, the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia are today overlooked, but there is some good opportunity over there.
Great, thanks, Raphael. So our next discussion question. So in your experience, what's the main hurdle that the market still needs to overcome to realize this potential we're discussing? Sasha, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Looking forward to hearing what the other panelists say about this. From my perspective, it would most likely be the administrative speed and predictability, where we've been recently going through a CI score process, and this process really needs to go faster with clear timelines, defined outcomes, because our partners and they depend upon speed and really predictability. And so they can handle the policy, but they struggle with the timing uncertainty. I would say that's one of the biggest challenges. Beyond regulations, though, I also believe Canada just really needs scale. We don't need necessarily more of the perfect biogas in every case with the ideal CI score. We just really need more of it. We need more wastewater treatment plants and farmers and food and beverage producers to adopt biogas and get compensated fairly for that produced renewable energy. We've seen that case in Germany and in France and as well in Italy and all over Europe, and even as well in California for that matter. Once we have stable offtakes available, then we can accelerate the industry. So I'd leave it there and hand it back over to others.
Great, thank you. Matthew, do you want to follow up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely have more of a sort of finance view response for this. So of course, post sort of COVID, construction prices for new facility development have really increased. And while the CFR program, of course, does provide a really nice source of revenue for projects, it's sort of long-term visibility, of course, more than 5 years out is a bit volatile. So without having sort of long-term visibility into CFR credits for the next 10 or 15 years as that market develops, it just creates some sort of financing hiccups, we can call them, when it comes to building a new project. So as you sort of go to get capital for new construction builds, sort of the investor pool and the lender pool who are willing to fund projects with a heavy sort of CFR revenue structure in the revenue stack just gets a little bit smaller and smaller. And it just creates some sort of development hurdles along the way. So just overall, I think more visibility into long-term offtake pricing for RNG and carbon credits would really help with development.
Thank you. Jennifer?
For the sake of being a broken record, offtake opportunities is top of mind. But that has really been emphasized already. And so I want to underscore the importance of that because it's what really initiates every project. The other piece I would say, though, is that the uncertainty that Sasha had mentioned is really top of mind too when projects are looking at how they will develop. And so that patchwork that patchwork of regulation is very difficult to navigate. You have to be very kind of tapped into the industry to understand which levers you can stack and which levers can be applicable to you. When we look at the federal opportunities and, when we look at the clean fuel regulation, we have seen some uptick on the support for biogas and RNG projects. But one of the missing pieces that we see as an association on our members is really the elegance of an investment tax credit support. And so over the course of the last 3 years, there's been a real drive to try to get recognition for biogas and RNG technology under the clean tech investment tax credit. And this is something that opened marginally for projects that are producing electricity and heat. With the budget implementation bill that will be passing shortly in the federal government, that ITC specifically for offtake on electricity and heat could be very appealing, particularly in provinces like in Ontario, where procurements for electricity are kind of top of mind. So that can be quite an interesting opportunity, but we absolutely need those supports for an investment tax credit to expand and include renewable natural gas technology as well. As we've seen more and more projects kind of moving in the direction of upgrading the biogas to biomethane and being able to use that and being able to get those offtake agreements to be able to produce the RNG. So I would say that investment tax credit could be a real driver for projects, particularly because, and as was highlighted in the Q&A, these are capital intensive projects. And so no matter, there is going to be a significant due diligence that's going to be needed to be done to understand how you're going to pay back this project. And so an ITC that can be done doesn't require dedicated programming, oversubscribed programming, applications or administrative hurdles, but it could be a real advantage and one that doesn't necessarily draw from the coffers of the government in a way that's, actually accelerating development of projects that would otherwise not go forward because they're not actually financially feasible. So the Canadian Biogas Association has been really emphasizing this investment tax credit opportunity, and we'll continue to be pushing forward for that because we know, based on some of our internal analysis, there are probably 70 projects across the country with over $1 billion of investment that could be unlocked if an investment tax credit of around 30% could be eligible for renewable natural gas projects.
Great, thank you. And Raphael.
Yeah, for us, probably the biggest hurdle is definitely the regulatory clarity and the timeline, I would say uncertainty, like the clean fuel regulation all over the provinces are evolving. There is an amendment discussed throughout 2025, 2026, really to strengthen the domestic production, but also, I would say, generating uncertainty for project developers that are kind of evaluating long-term economics. So developers are waiting for certainty on credits, on carbon pricing stability, and long-term policy commitment. It's always kind of a long game facing short-term policy. So it's a bit sometimes like a analysis paralysis à la Canadienne, or I would say as well, you can see that in other developed countries, you see that in the US, in Europe, but it's kind of this kind of slow-moving process considering how many balls are on play, I would say. The second thing is the provincial fragmentation. Like when someone has been quite successful in Ontario, it's a different story as well to build a project in Quebec or in Alberta. Like each province has its own rules, incentives, and RNG quality standards. And so Quebec has the BNQ, I think the norm, like a specific norm. Fortis has its own, ADCO, Enbridge. So it's make basically national project development uneven and sometimes really administratively complex. And last thing that hasn't been touched base, I would say, the infrastructure gap. I'm really looking forward to take a look at the Manitoba pipeline to take a look at what is there. I'm not familiar with this state, unfortunately, yet, but the gas transportation capacity and the injection point for us are still limited, especially in rural agricultural regions, where obviously that's where the project could happen. So, and I won't go probably into what Matthew mentioned about the uncertainty related to the policy signal with the CFR credit price, but I'm fully aligned.
Thank you. Maybe if we can pull a question from the chat here. We've got a lot of really interesting engagement coming in. One, maybe if we could briefly touch on it before the end of the hour here. Across each company's or association's operations in Canada, do you view anaerobic digestion primarily as a front revenue business driven by tip fees and contracted waste volumes, or a back revenue business driven by carbon credits, CFR value, environmental attributes, etc.? Any of our panelists like to jump in on that?
You know, I think probably Anaergia would be better placed to answer this question.
Sure. I mean, I see both. To be honest, it's a balance. If you can get that offtake is likely more priority. They're both important, but if you don't have an offtake, you don't have a project. And that's what we see from our developer colleagues and some of the build, own, operates that we've built in the past. Feedstock is very important, though, in the sense you have to get the right feedstocks. You can't be bringing water with a little bit of biogas in it into the plant facilities. You need to have high concentration food waste, landfill diverted organics, etc., coming into the biogas plants. Otherwise, you won't be able to create a good project. I think also Matthew might likely have some good insight there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of, we like to use the European market as a reference just because of how much further ahead on sort of the development timeline the Europeans have been compared to here in Canada. And in general, of course, as companies are able to earn more revenue from the offtakes, the business model sort of transitions away from being a front end heavy revenue generator to being more focused on just getting that volume sort of in the front door so they can earn the sort of RNG and carbon credit revenue on the backside. However, of course, in the Canadian market, we're very lucky that we do have sort of long-term municipal intake contracts, which a lot of, say, cities and sort of zones in the States do not have. So I think we're still in the middle right now here in Canada, but there is, of course, more and more of a shift to being a back-end focused business.
Thank you. And Jennifer, I think you highlighted in the chat the opportunity for dairy RNG in the Canadian market. Would you like to provide a quick response on that?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say that a number of the existing projects, not all by any means, but a majority of the biogas projects that were initiated were done on the dairy systems. And so there's, significant compatibility of the biogas system incorporated into the dairy operation, notwithstanding the feedstocks that you're using and the nutrients that recycle back onto the farms. The dairy sector, probably one of the most stable in the Canadian market to date, to be able to provide that capital investment amongst all the agricultural commodities. However, I would offer that, in contrast to, size and scale is key, as has been shared by some of the other panelists. And so you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at the volume of manure that you're actually processing, and whether that needs some kind of amalgamation of farms or clustering of farms to be able to make that project viable. Projects in Quebec, projects in Ontario, they are substantially smaller than our US counterparts when we're looking at facilities. But of course, we have the European market that has been successful on a smaller scale. So just put that out there in terms of that question on dairy.
Great, thank you. And Raphael, would you like to comment also? I know Prodeval is quite active in the dairy RNG space also.
Yeah, we are quite active in dairy, but I like to keep my position as a technology provider. I usually don't have a lot of specific when it comes to project development. That's why I gave the mic to Sasha and Matthew, because I think their answers are definitely more relevant than mine.
All right, thank you. And as we approach the end of the hour, maybe from each of our panelists, we can have a concluding statement on the topic of biogas and RNG in Canada. Sasha, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Definitely an exciting conversation here. Good to meet with like-minded individuals. From Canada's perspective, we got to get faster timelines on to make the CFR program work, and we have to get the CI scores done at a more accelerated pace so that we can move more projects forward.
I agree with Sasha's comments, but in addition as well, I think it's really interesting to see sort of technologies coming online, such as CO2 liquefaction and CO2 sequestration, that are getting sort of passed and are the next step beyond RNG upgrading.
Yeah, this is the CO2 liquefaction topic is usually like the second topic after the RNG upgrading. So I'm glad you mentioned it, Matthew. So far, like from Prodeval's perspective, the Canada has the feedstock, it has the policies, the utilities, and the climate goals. What is still needed is probably regulatory predictability and faster execution. It's good to see that you all are taking a look at what is done in Europe, so we can integrate those know-how and those lessons learned the hard way most of the time in Canada in a faster and easier way. So basically, we really think that the RNG project, thanks to that, can move at the speed of climate emergency.
And I would just offer that this has really been an amazing conversation of there's a lot of threads, and I think that the market is ripe for the picking. I think while we went through some uncertainty and definitely political and geopolitical uncertainty as we continue to do, Canada looks at it as a very safe market to work in. And I would just offer anyone who would be interested in furthering these conversations to join us in Toronto at the end of this month to the Value of Biogas East Conference as we dive into many more of these conversations. Thanks. Thanks, Ryan.
Great, thank you. And I'll just share one last slide here. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time for joining us today. And for our speakers, Sasha Rollings-Scattergood from Anaergia, Matthew Growden from Convertus, Jennifer Green from the Canadian Biogas Association, and Raphael Deley from Prodeval. Our Biogas and RNG Online event is taking place in our Biogas Community platform all week, and you're invited to join for free, ask questions, and network with your industry colleagues. Questions in the chat that we did not have the opportunity to discuss will be posted in our event discussion forum, and our speakers will be invited to respond offline. If you're interested in learning more about the biogas and RNG industry in a live setting, upcoming Canadian events include, as Jennifer mentioned, VOB East from March 30 to April 1st in Toronto, and RNG Forum hosted by BiogasWorld, April 14 to 16 in Drummondville, Quebec. Thank you for joining us, everybody.